This episode of Gators Breakdown is brought to you by BetterHelp. Prioritize your well-being. If you need support along the way, BetterHelp has got you covered. Visit betterhelp.com/Gators and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gators.
We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Oh, I'm coming at you after the heartbreaker. Tough loss, 34-20. Georgia beats Florida. Chances were there. Exciting game. In it longer than many thought. First time under Billy Napier's tenure that Florida, the game kind of went the distance here. Oh, but man, that one it hurts. It hurts. We'll get into it. Chances were there. That's what makes it hurt even more. Oh man, but of course, some other storylines in this game too that makes it hurt even worse. Of course, with DJ Lagway being carted off, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But everybody, I know you don't like the result. But hit that like button, like what we're doing right here on Gators Breakdown, bringing you this Sunday episode. Time change. The coffee did not taste good this morning after this one on Saturday, but hit that like button. Really means a lot right here on Gators Breakdown. Subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform as well. Thanks for joining us live here. We'll get to some comments as well going in there. But Gators Breakdown Plus, the discussion there, going there pretty good this morning. Really good discussion. Longtime friend EH hopping in, giving his thoughts on the, kind of behind the scenes thing about admin and his thought. He's very tuned in to that. So him hopping in, Bill Sykes hopping in as well, kind of just going through kind of the status of the program right now. That conversation happening this morning on the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. Link is in the description to join there. But also get those ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown. Big thanks to Mike and Trev. I got to hang out with those guys Friday night, sit with them at the game yesterday. Thanks to Mike for hooking me up with a wonderful ticket to Florida, Georgia, about 6 rows up. And like I said, we got to have some fun for the first time Florida Georgia matching up in Billy Napier's tenure, winning at halftime, tied 2020, and we got to have a little bit of fun. The tailgate at Harmonic Woods, of course, in the junkyard, a whole lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who stopped by and said hello. There were a lot of you. Some surprised didn't even know we were there. Some I dropped the pin in the location. You guys come and said hello. A lot of you out there stopping by. I'll be going through a lot of names for the next few minutes, but you know who you are. Big thanks for reaching out and stopping by and saying hello. Had some good conversations. Had a good time there. So we'll get to it. Of course, this game, one of the, and everybody if you know me, if you have followed Gators Breakdown long enough, I hate that team. I hate the red and black. There is nothing to it. Nothing more to it. That's just where it stands. That's one of the hardest gut punches I've endured as a fan, this Florida Georgia game. From having the chance to win it, staying in the game, given the tough circumstances, and of course, part of that, seeing your freshman phenom quarterback go down with a pretty bad looking injury and just the disbelief that comes along with seeing that. This game, had storyline galore there. This one hurts because it was there for the taking in a few ways. Like I said, you had to lead when Lagway went down. You were causing turnovers on defense. You had the game tied when it looked like nothing was going your way. Still find a way to tie the game, only for it really to amount to a final score that looked like everyone predicted anyway. But we all know the path to that final score in this game, it was a much closer call. In some ways played out like I did predict, with Georgia winning by 14, tacking on a late score. But the game for Georgia was in doubt a bit more than it looks like on the surface, given the circumstances Florida found themselves dealing with throughout this, mainly being without your starting quarterback. But still the result matters. 4th loss in a row to Georgia. First time Georgia has come back from a first half deficit to beat Florida since 2011. Another loss for Billy Napier against a rival. Now Florida sits at 4-4 on the season. And given the circumstances, the outlook, not so great to finish the season. So we'll take a look at the game. We'll go through the game, kind of tell the storyline, as we kind of go drive by drive, key stats, storyline of the game. We'll get into a little bit of big picture stuff after that, after we look into this game. But Georgia gets the ball first. They can convert their first third down. Beck misses a couple downfield throws. Georgia has to punt. Good start for the defense. You can see Georgia testing the ball down the field, had some guys in spots, but Beck not on it early. Of course, we know that would come back to bite him. Florida starts on the 13-yard line, convert a 3rd and 4, would be their only third down conversion of the first half. 3rd and 4 to Mizell from Lagway. 3rd and 8, which you didn't go back to the preview. One of my key things was not staying in 3rd and long. That happened to Florida in the first half. 3rd and 8, Lagway runs, comes up short. 4th and 3, punt. A great tackle by Aaron Gates, who had a great game. Tackle on the punt by him. Georgia starts at their own 12. And then the first big plays of the game kind of happened on this Georgia drive. Georgia gains 25 yards, 16 yards, 18 yards to get eventually to a 1st and goal at the 6. That gets to a 3rd and goal. Pressure comes from Jordan Castell. He tips the ball at the line of scrimmage. Georgia has to settle for a field goal. Big win for the defense early on. Florida starts at their own 25. Ball, gain of 8 on the first play. Eventually gets to 3rd and 2. 2 plays later. On that 3rd and 2, ball start by Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon. Makes it 3rd and 7. Another 3rd and long. Pass falls incomplete. Offense not doing anything early, living in 3rd and long. Did not want to be there. Georgia starts at their own 27 with 13 seconds left in the first quarter. They're marching. And then, here we go. Starts to trend for the defense. Carson Beck throws the interception to Devin Moore. He returns it all the way to the Georgia 43. Devin Moore, second interception in the last 2 weeks. He's the first Gator with picks in consecutive games since Donovan Steiner did it versus Towson and Auburn in 2019. Sets it up. First play on the ensuing possession. DJ Lagway finds Aiden Mizell, 43-yard for a touchdown, 7-3 Gators. Beautiful throw by Lagway, which we expect those downfield throws to look like that. Mizell has steps on Georgia defenders. 43-yard touchdown, longest reception of his career for Aiden Mizell, as well as his second career touchdown. Both of his touchdowns, 40-plus yard catches this year. Mizell finished the game 4 receptions and a career-high 66 yards. Georgia gets the ball back, starts on their own 25. Beck finds Ben Yursek for 31 yards. And then got to bring him up again because he played a really good game. Gates with a nice pursuit, tackle for loss on Georgia running back Frazier. Go back and look at that play, guys. And when you want to go maybe film review, or if you want to rewatch the game, a lot of good from that defense there in the first half before they eventually wore out. But Gates being one of those. I mean, Frazier looked like he was running left, green grass all in front of him. That's what it looks like. Gates comes up, makes a really, really nice play. Next play, you get a face mask on Dez Watson. Georgia's got the ball at the Florida 31. Defense steps up again. Next play, another Carson Beck interception. This time to Gates. He returns it to midfield. It's his first career pick. Gates finished with 4 tackles, 3 solo, the 1 tackle for loss, the 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, and a quarterback hurry. If there's one player I think we have been pointing out so far this season, and what a time to show up to play probably your best game, Gates did that. Huge for Florida's defense in this game. So Florida's got the ball. A ball run for 6 to start the drive. Have some runs by Lagway and Ball. You eventually get to 3rd and 11 at the 14. Now, remember, this drive started at midfield. It was a great opportunity to take advantage, put Georgia even more pressure. It was a 3rd and 11. Pass falls incomplete. Florida has to settle for a field goal. It's 10-3. 7:22 left in the first half. You get the points there, but man, with the field position, and then eventually we know how the game would play out. Would have been great to put up another touchdown. You were in great field position. So, didn't need to be settling for field goals against Georgia, knowing what they were capable of doing in the second half that we've seen kind of what they do all year. But defense response, again, 2 previous drives, interceptions. This drive, a 3 and out for the defense. You get a sack by Derek Wingo on 3rd and 3. Beck maybe looked a little gun shy because he was not really able to pull the trigger. I'll go back and watch the replay there, see if anybody was even open down the field. But either way, Beck hangs on to the ball, gets sacked by Derek Wingo. Derek Wingo, one of his best games. I had a Georgia buddy text me after the game saying, look, 15 did a lot of good things against us. Yeah, it was apparent Derek Wingo was playing a really good game. Almost blocked a punt, really close to blocking a punt too early in this game. That was Derek Wingo's first sack of the season. Florida gets the ball on their own 25. 5:15 left in the first half. And this is the big storyline of the game. First play of the drive. Lagway runs. Slips. Gets a gain of 3. Goes down. And then the cart comes out. You could tell would have been his left leg. He kept pretty straight the whole time when he went down. We didn't know initially what it was. Did he get hit in the head? Did he fall hard? I know a lot of talk about the turf there in Jacksonville. But either way, Lagway goes down. It looked pretty serious, of course, to the cart coming out. It didn't look seems like a hamstring, soft tissue injury, Billy Napier said after the game. Getting the MRI on Sunday. He'll tell us more later in the week. Anytime the cart comes out, pretty scary situation. So Florida has to turn to Aiden Warner now at quarterback. 3rd and 7. He has a deep shot on 3rd and 7 that falls incomplete. But a lot of people go back, to this drive. Of course, it's a key drive of the game because of what happened. And a lot of talk about why are you running Lagway? Really? I can't believe I'm hearing that so much against the aspect of his game that makes him as good as he can be. It's who he is. It opens up the offense. As I said, we saw him and Ball the drive before doing some good things in the run game together. It opens up the offense, whether it's a design run, a scramble, him checking to it, either way, he needs to be running the ball. He was already doing some good things on the previous offensive drives. It's part of his game. It makes the offense better. And I don't get blaming Billy Napier for using a trait of his quarterback. There's one thing that makes DJ Lagway the complete package at quarterback. You can blame Billy Napier for a lot of things. That shouldn't be one of them. I can't believe I saw it that much. Still seeing it today. That's DJ Lagway. You play. Look, I know the other angle of that is, well, look, you have nobody behind him. You got to be careful. Don't coach scared. Don't coach scared. By not running your quarterback. It's part of the game. Should be part of the game plan. If it happens, it happens. Well, it did happen. But blaming the head coach there for running a running quarterback, or not a running quarterback, a mobile quarterback, I ain't blaming you for that one. Georgia gets the ball at their own 15. 3:44 left in the first half. It's eventually 3rd and 4 at their own 47, and a big stop right here before halftime. Cam Jackson breaks up a pass. So Florida has to start at their own 6 with a minute and a half left in the first half. You knew with Warner at quarterback, it was going to be pretty conservative here. Both teams have all 3 timeouts. 1 yard gain for Ball, a Georgia timeout. Next play was a wide receiver screen to DK. Another, conservative pass play here. Looked like targeting on Georgia. That was overturned on Georgia's Daniel Harris. Timeout Georgia there with 1:24 left. It's 3rd and 9. Ball loses 3. 4th and 12 with 1:20 left. Georgia gets the ball at the Florida, at midfield. 1:13 left in the first half. 13-yard gain to the 35. And then you get the 3rd and 10 at the Florida 35. Falls incomplete after a near interception and then dropped by Georgia. That was a big play there. Georgia has to settle for a 53-yard field goal, 10-6 with 43 seconds left. So their timeouts come into play, get them 3 points. Well, Florida pretty aggressive in their own right. Some aggressive running, some successful running early in this drive. Aggressive play calling. Billy Napier going for it on 4th down. Getting in the field goal range. Field goal's good. 13 20-6 with 3 seconds left in the first half. 32 yards rushing for Jacoby Jackson on that drive, and Warner finding DK for 8 yards on 4th and 4 from the Georgia 43. You spike the ball with 9 seconds left, kick the field goal, and Florida's got a 13-6 lead going into halftime. So Florida gets the ball, some momentum by kicking that long field goal. Florida gets the ball and start seeing here, the drives weren't going to go Florida's way. Couldn't stay on the field. Florida starts with their own 25. Warner misses DK on the first. 3rd and 4, pass out the ball in the flats, fall incomplete. 3 and out, punt. Georgia starts their own 29. Frazier run for 11. And then this defense steps up once again. Big play. Pup Howard with the pressure. Jack Pyburn with the interception. Pyburn's first interception of his career. And a lot of Jacksonville love on that play with Pup Howard with the pressure and Pyburn making the interception. A lot of Jacksonville love making the plays. The Gators logged multiple takeaways in 3 straight games for the first time since the 2019 season. And a 4-week stretch there from September 14th to October 5th. Florida has 6 interceptions in the last 2 games, 9 on the season. Florida's defense posted 3 interceptions in back-to-back games for the first time since 2019, Kentucky and Tennessee. 3 apiece against those 2 teams. So 2019, last time Florida's defense been able to turn the ball over like this. So the ball's at midfield. Another opportunity for this Florida offense. Granted, we know DJ Lagway's out. Warner's in. But you're in position. This is why I think going back to it, you had your opportunities. Why it hurt so much. Defense gave plenty of opportunities. This one more. Ball's at midfield. Go 3 and out again. And this is after you get to 3rd and 2 after a couple of Jackson runs. So you were in an ideal 3rd and short scenario and can't capitalize. Warner with a keeper, he loses 3 on that 3rd and 2. Wasted opportunity there at midfield. Georgia gets the ball at their own 17. Castell and this is the drive coming up where Florida DB's just getting hurt. A lot of the physicality in this area. Florida took some dings. Devin Moore already hurt at this point. And then this drive, more DBs going down. Castell had a pursuit tackle, but he's injured on that first down. Georgia's driving. DE goes down on that drive as well. Castell returns. Dylan Bell for Georgia runs for 33 yards to the Florida 15. Denson in on that tackle. He gets hurt. So you got 3 guys getting hurt on this drive. Denson eventually comes back in as well. So you had a false start on Georgia at 2nd and 8. Cormani McClain almost causes another interception near the goal line. It's caught by Georgia's Bell at the 2. Touchdown Georgia the next play. They tied the game up at 13-13. Georgia had an unsportsmanlike penalty on that touchdown. They're pushed back on the kickoff. Florida starts to drive at their own 33. 6:56 left in the 3rd quarter. Ball a 9-yard run on 2nd down. 3rd and 1, ball goes for 8 near to midfield. So Florida, once again, getting near midfield. It's 3rd and 10. Mizell drop on the screen. Later on, Warner finds Badger for 11 for the first down to the Georgia 40. Have to settle for a field goal. And the key here, settle for a field goal and the snap shoots back for forever. Had a chance to tack on 3 more. Take the lead here. It's eventually recovered for a loss of 31 yards. Georgia now set up in great field position. Easy drive for Georgia here. A run of 6, a pass for 8. The big one, Beck finds Cash Jones for 22 yards and the score. He breaks a Shamar James tackle, bowls over Gators at the goal line. Georgia now in the lead, 20-13 after the kind of inexplicable special teams snafu there with the snap just rolling and rolling for forever. Kind of gave Georgia that one. Florida starts with their own 25. Warner sacked on 2nd down. The Georgia's first sack of the day. 3rd and 14 at the 21 into the third quarter. Warner gets away with throwing back to the middle of the field. That should have been picked. Georgia gets the ball back at their own 25 after a punt. 3rd and 2 after a couple of runs, and man, what did we see here? Miles Graham blitz for the sack, first of his career, keeping Florida in this game. Florida's defense showing up in multiple 3rd and short situations. I mean, gave up yards in this game, of course, but a lot, you see what the offense is doing here in the second half. Can't stay on the field. But here we are, Georgia with the lead, with the ball, trying to put the game away. It's 3rd and 2, favorable situation for them. You have a true freshman in the game, blitzing at linebacker. Miles Graham gets the sack. Georgia forced to punt. Gator ball at their own 37. 2 runs, gets it to 3rd and 7 from the 40. Pass incomplete to Burke on the sideline. 3 and out. Another 3 and out. Have to punt. Georgia ball at their own 12. That eventually gets to 3rd and 5 at the 17. Miscommunication for Beck and the wide receivers. Gators force another punt, down 20-13, 9:58 left in the game. Ball at their own 45. Maybe your last best chance to do something, and Florida does something. 2nd and 10 to Badger for 26, down to the 29. Next play, hands to the face on Georgia. Now balls to the 13. Next play, Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon called for holding, so you're backed up now to the 23. Florida overcomes it anyway. Jacoby Jackson runs down to the 15. It's 2nd and 12. Jackson gets the ball again, 15-yard touchdown run. Ran it down their throats on that drive. Florida's run game really asserted itself here. It's a tie ball game, 20-20. Probably could go back and look and say Florida probably should have stuck even more with the run game before this. Understand not trying to be so predictable with Warner back there, but Florida's offensive line started controlling at this point in the game. Tie ball game, 20-20, 7:29 left in the game. Defense couldn't hold up, though. Georgia starts the ball at their own 25, a gain of 5 on first. 2nd down, you get a Bridges stop. It's 3rd and 7, and all day for Carson Beck. 3rd and 7, had him in a favorable spot. But Carson Beck all day to throw this time. Finds Arian Smith for 34 yards to the 38. Next play, Beck finds Lucky for 21, down to the 17. It's 3rd and 3 at the 10. Tunnel screen to Lovett for the Georgia touchdown. 27-20. They respond. 4:01 left. So, Florida gets the ball back. Starting at their own 17. 3:56 left in the game. Got to go 83 yards. Hadn't seen much from, except a favorable position drive. That drive aided by a penalty. The previous drive for Gators offense. Warner throws an interception on the first play. A tripping penalty on Florida as well. Georgia has the ball at the 7. Georgia scores on 2nd and goal from the 4. 34-20 Georgia at that point. Nothing much doing for the Gators after that. That was going to be too much to overcome, having to pass the ball at that point. Georgia's defense takes advantage. Florida been not able to do anything to close the game out. 34-20 Georgia. As I said, going through it, you could see the opportunities there. Got off to a good start, leading at halftime, favorable start and field position a couple of times you didn't take advantage of. I mean, to win games like this, even given the circumstances, to win games like this, that's where you got to capitalize. All right, we'll get into some stats. Then we'll take a look at big picture. I'll get into your comments as well. Before we get there, Gators Breakdown is brought to you by BetterHelp. As we turn the calendar to November, this month is all about gratitude. This is certainly a time I can tell you, Gators Breakdown listeners, thank you for listening and participating. Your support, it really, really means a lot. But there's another person we don't get to thank enough, and hey, look, that's ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we're trying to make the best in a crazy, crazy world. Trying to make sense of everything in this crazy world. And look, that isn't easy. That's where therapy can come in with BetterHelp. Therapy isn't just about solving problems. It's about empowering you to become your best self and reconnecting with your inner strength. It's a journey of self-discovery and growth. So many of you, been affected by a lot lately in this crazy world. Life's been hard down our way, dealing with all the hurricanes and stuff. If you're here in the state of Florida, well, if you need some help, BetterHelp brings therapy to you. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you're thinking of starting therapy so you can be the best version of yourself with the holidays coming up, then get started with BetterHelp. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Gators today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gators to get 10% off your first month. All right, let's take a look at some stats. And, I guess it'll help tell the story a bit. Not pretty in a lot of ways. Oh, 34-20 final. Georgia beats Florida. 455 total yards to 228 for Florida, or for Georgia. 455 for Georgia, 228 for Florida. 455 yards. Like it's as I said, for the defense, all in all, a good enough performance to win this game. The turnovers, the third down stops, eventually, to me, just being on the field too much in the second half with the Florida offense not being able really to do anything with Warner there. Georgia with 146 rushing yards on 33 attempts, 4.4 yards a rush, 309 yards passing, 25 of 40, 63% there for Georgia. Average yards per completion, 12.4. Florida, 115 yards rushing, 3 yards an attempt. Going 9 of 30 for passing, 113 total yards between Lagway and Warner, 30% completion percentage. Florida 2 of 2 in the red zone when they got there. Georgia 4 of 4 in the red zone when they got there. 24 red zone points for Georgia, 10 for Florida. Neither team doing much on third down. 4 of 11 for Georgia on third down. 3 of 16 for Florida. That's pretty bad. Tackles for loss, Georgia with 6. Florida's defense with 4. Tackles for loss yards, Florida 20, or minus 20. Georgia with minus 18. Georgia with 7 quarterback hurries, 2 sacks. Florida with 4 quarterback hurries, 2 sacks. For Florida, if we go to third down and we look at that, Florida averaged, and this is where it gets kind of bad. Why third down was so bad? Averaged third and 7.3 to go. Living in third and long. That was not advantageous. It would have been it would have been a disadvantage for DJ Lagway, even more a disadvantage for Aiden Warner when he came in. Georgia averaged 7.3 yards on first down. Florida averaging 4.3 on first down. Take a look at the player stats here. Aiden Warner finishes the day 7 of 22 for 66 yards and the 1 interception. DJ Lagway 2 of 6 for 47 yards, the 1 touchdown to Aiden Mizell. Only 4 receivers on the day on those 9 completions for Florida. Aiden Mizell with 4 of those, 4 for 66 and the 1 touchdown. Elijah Badger went 2 for 36. Chimere DK 2 for 8. Arliss Boardingham 1 for 3. Jacoby Jackson 6.2 yards a carry. 12 attempts for 74 yards and the 1 touchdown. Jaden Ball 17 of 64. Lagway 4 of 18. For defense, Chakwes Bridges leads the way. Thankfully, Florida has Bridges in the defensive backfield with all the injuries kind of piling up there. He's been able to have some position versatility, play in different spots back there on the back end. Leads the day, 8 total tackles 4 of them being solo. Sharif Denson with 4 tackles, a homecoming for him as well. We go along with Grayson Howard. Both of those guys with 4 tackles. Aaron Gates, as I said, really, really good game for him. Cormani McLean, a lot of playing time now because of those, partly because of those injuries there. An up and down day, kind of what you'd expect here. I remember one play, for just whatever reason, I keyed in on Cormani McLean. He was right there in front of us. It was a passing play for Georgia. Locked up Arian Smith just right from the get-go. And that was Carson Beck's first read. I saw Carson Beck look right at Arian Smith, had to come off of him because McLean locked him up. Right in his face from the get-go at the snap. Smith not able to shed McLean. Really looking forward to seeing his development and more time he's going to get now to play. Jack Pyburn with 4 tackles as well. Had the interception, of course. Miles Graham, Shamar James, Aaron Childs, all those linebackers there. 3 tackles. Jordan Castell, 3. Jaden Robinson with 3. A lot of bodies there for defense having to play, like I said, on the field a lot in that second half, having to rotate a good bit. Injuries doing a large part in that. For Georgia, one more look. Carson Beck, 25 of 40, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Receiving, Dominic Lovett led the way, 7 for 52 to 1 touchdown. Cash Jones, 3 for 37, 1 touchdown to highlight there. Trevor Etienne gets hurt for Georgia there, so not the big storyline. Average 4.4 yards a carry, 7 attempts for 31 yards. Nate Frazier, who, looking at what when the ball was in his hand, he's a shifty, quick running back there for Georgia. 19 attempts, 82 yards. I thought Florida, for the most part, did a pretty good job balling him. Not went crazy. Like I said, along with 11. You didn't give up the big explosive runs. Dylan Bell had the one for Georgia, but the trick play. It took Georgia, a trick play to get the rushing yards, to get the big explosive. But the long for Frazier, 11. The long for Etienne, 11. Florida's rush defense continues to play well, not giving up the explosives there. Going against Georgia, and look, I know they've struggled running the ball, but historically, you live with those numbers. They average 4.4 on the day. You probably tell me coming into the game, I'll probably take that number. Especially when you say, okay, well, I'll go pair it with 3 interceptions for Carson Beck. I'm like, okay. And Florida was in the game. I would have said that before the game. Georgia averages 4.4, and Carson Beck, 3 interceptions. Okay, where do I sign up? Give me a chance to go win that game. All right. There we go. Let me get some comments, and then we'll do some. It might tie in a lot to the big picture stuff. Oh, there's going to be a lot here, of course. Level May says, Kittner threw for 400 yards yesterday, playing for UAB. Max Brown is at Charlotte. I don't think he's playing too much there. Rashada plays for Georgia, trying to figure out how we down to a walk-on. He's been here for 3 years, bad situation we are in. I kind of talked about this on Twitter a little bit too this morning before going live. Of course, we all know the quarterback storylines Billy Napier has been faced with since he's been head coach here at Florida. It's more about the style of quarterback for me. Look, not many teams out there are going to have 3 quarterbacks ready to go. So behind Mertz and Lagway, most teams, 90% of college football, maybe even more than that, are not going to have a 3rd quarterback ready to go. But I do question, and maybe the pool's a bit smaller, of course, but I do question the style of quarterback Florida has, backing up Lagway and Mertz. Seems to me, more pocket passers. Maybe can they move a little bit? Sure. Warner did a good job escaping, but I wouldn't necessarily say a dual threat. I think we've seen Billy Napier going back to his days at Louisiana with Levi Lewis, and what we've seen with DJ Lagway so far, AR to a certain extent. This offense is better when you have a running quarterback, a dual threat quarterback. So, look, maybe it's a bit deeper than that. Maybe the talent pool for those type of quarterbacks aren't out there. Couldn't get one more. To me, it's more about style. Look, the quality is not going to be there with the 3rd string quarterback. It's just not for most teams out there. So this is not a quality criticism. It's just a style criticism. Travis Peterson does go to interesting point here. With Lagway, we win. And that's, of course, a storyline I certainly wanted to get into with this. So we'll go big picture a bit. Napier does have this team playing harder, better football. This offense, of course, had the potential with DJ Lagway. Defense continues to make strides. At the same time, that doesn't mean Florida beats the better teams on the schedule coming up. And, yesterday was a great chance to see that, but snake bitten once again. I'd love to say Florida wins the game with DJ Lagway playing all the way through. I lean that way, but I'm not convinced 100%. Not convinced 100% that it happens. Besides the touchdown pass to Mizell for the long touchdown, he was having accuracy issues, and Florida was living in 3rd and long. Only had the 1 third down conversion and had to settle for a field goal after a drive that started at midfield after the Aaron Gates interception. Lagway, as I said, 2 for 6 for 47 yards, and 43 of the 47 yards was the one pass to Mizell. But, given the way we saw Florida run the ball and the way the downfield passing game was non-existent with Aiden Warner, you can see the path with Lagway to continue to keep the run game going in the game, more explosives in the passing game leading to the upset. Also, to me, I'll go back to the other part of it, possibly keeping the ball more. Keeping the ball enough so the defense doesn't have to get so worn out in the second half. Florida's drive chart, starting the drive DJ Lagway went out, were 3 plays, 6 yards. 3 plays, -2 yards. 8 plays, 40 yards, field goal drive right before halftime. And then again, 3 plays, 6 yards. 3 plays, 5 yards. 10 plays, 3 yards because of losing 31 yards on the bad field goal snap. And then another 3 plays, -4. 3 plays, 3 yards. 5 plays, 55-yard touchdown. 1 play interception. And then the 8-play, 13-yard on the final drive of the game. So that defense that played so well was eventually going to break. There was a lot of 3 and outs. So while Lagway's explosives are key, he likely has some more sustained drives than we were getting. Georgia doesn't get so many chances to put up points. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sold just because, what we had seen up to that point. Florida's offense was struggling besides the touchdown pass to Mizell. But I think you can clearly see there was a path there. Look, maybe it's a little more like the Kentucky game we saw a couple of weeks ago. Maybe not much in the short to intermediate range, but enough explosive to make up the difference. So, like I said, I lean the way Florida probably gets the upset with Lagway, but I don't think it's a given that Florida wins. 941 Low Life says Billy got super conservative after DJ went down. Yeah, but I don't know what you do in that situation. Like I said, probably what I would have done is not even give so many passing opportunities to Warner. I get it though. Trying not to be predictable, trying to keep the Georgia defense as loose as possible. But the run game was there. So Liquid Flame says Beck is not good. Georgia doesn't have anything to be proud of. Sure, they won, but come on, Beck was awful, and it took losing our quarterback for them to win. I don't care. It's a rivalry game. You be proud of that. We'll see what the future holds for Georgia, but I'd be proud that my quarterback played a stinker of a game for the most part, and they still found a way to win. If I was to reverse the situation, I know I would be. Let's see. Wally Gators says, hard luck program right now, Dave. Just can't catch a break. No one in the worst way. Need one in the worst way. Horns down. And another part too, is that all Billy was missing is a quarterback for his system. Yeah, I've seen that fault, and what I don't want it to have to become is you absolutely need an elite quarterback for it to work. we've seen some other offensive systems out there where the quarterback doesn't necessarily, have to come in elite, and he may end up playing elite, but is Napier's offense going to be so reliant on having to go get the best quarterback prospect in the country? Because how many times is that really attainable? You got Lagway. There's credit for that given. So, yeah, you can say all he was missing was a quarterback for the system. I mean, that goes along for a lot of coaches out there. That's not just a Billy Napier thing. But there's also so many coaches out there that can take what's given to them and go get the best out of it. Now, of course, there's going to be stages of that too. You bring in an elite quarterback, it's going to make a good system, a good quarterback even better. But you hope that, at least for Napier's sake, and if he's going to be here, we'll get into that too. But for any coach's sake, that you don't need an elite quarterback for your system to work. You can adjust. You can overcome. So that's another way to look at it. Okay. 94-1 Low Life says, light came on for the defense to UCF game. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it for the last month now. That's been about a month ago for that one. And this defense figuring out some things. I hate that it took, I'm glad it happened, but I hate that it took, the coaches to have to go to the coaching staff and say, hey, this is, we would like for things to be done this way. We would like practice to be harder. We maybe like a more simplified approach on defense. Credit for the players and the coaches coming together and figuring it out, but I hate that it had to come to that point, so far in the season as well. Why couldn't that have been seen before the season starts? And maybe your fortunes against Miami are better. Your fortunes against Texas A&M are better. And this defense that now at this point of the season is even better because they started the season at that point. So now the point came 4 weeks into the season, and we're still seeing the progress, but maybe the progress is further along if this had been identified earlier in the season. Love what I've seen from that side of the ball. Now, we'll see if they can overcome some injuries that are piling up on that side of the ball too. But, I think you have to feel pretty comfortable with what you've seen so far and some different style of tests coming out. Like I said, you did give up some yards on the field a lot versus Georgia, but that's to be expected. We knew better offenses were coming up against this Gator defense. They played well enough to win the game. Q Lee says UF is cursed. That was a pretty prevalent message that I was getting yesterday. Of course, I'm sure like every one of you out there, text messages are just flying in when Lagway goes down. An unfortunate situation, and it's just like, man, I cannot believe this happened again. And snake bitten, unfortunate, cursed. Whatever term you want to use, it's probably true. The quote unquote can't have nice things. That's kind of what it seems like this is in. Bree MC says, this game proved my point again. We have the players, but not the coach. Billy's offense is only effective with a quarterback that can fix the warts. Oh, yep. So let's go big picture a little bit. I'll come back to some comments before we wrap up the episode. I'm going to present the big picture as it stands right now from my perspective with a question I was asked, as I think that's pretty much the best way to look at it right now. My buddy C3, you might know him on Twitter. He's been in the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord as well. He said, Dave, shoot it to me straight. In your opinion, has Napier done enough to earn a fourth year? My reply to that is, he hasn't done enough to earn a fourth year. Now, you may get it. And put it this way, and also, the word patience comes into play. If you are giving him year 4 for patience, that to me is also saying you don't think he's done enough to earn it. You're just giving him patience. You're just sitting back and wanting to see how it plays out. Using patience as a route, as an avenue, I guess, for you to fully see that it may or may not work. Hope is not a strategy. But if you want to ask the question, has he done enough to earn a fourth year? Patience doesn't come into play for earning a fourth year. He hasn't earned a fourth year. He may get it now due to the circumstances. We know the narrative is going to change for some people because of the injuries and the injury to DJ Lagway. All the admin stuff we've already discussed. We know a lot of the admin because of buyout, because of they like Billy Napier. They want to keep him. Look, it's true. This team is playing better. That eventually is going to have to equal wins somewhere on the timeline. The injuries, they're given even more reason now to not spend the buyout for some of them. One thing to me that's hard to forecast is, what does the roster look like? We got to start looking into the future now. What does the roster look like for next season? I'm sorry, no player is safe in this new world of college football. Napier even admitted it last week himself. This is not me trying to reach for a narrative that's not there. He mentioned it himself when he was asked about the young players on his roster, and now this new world of college football having to keep those guys. No player is safe in this new world of college football. Tampering is going to happen. You best bet DJ Lagway is going to get millions thrown at him. Other players on the roster as well. Recruiting is in the dump right now. So if you want to look for the future, where's the future going to come into play for the decision makers? That's the biggest question, I think. Whether take the results out of it right now, on the on-field results, are some people going to look at the future to make their decision? They should. And remember, if we're looking at this roster for the future, so much of this experience that was lauded in the preseason, look, we can't move the goalpost. There was so much experience on this roster, whether it be transfer portal or guys returning, a lot of experience that was lauded in the preseason will be gone. And now, given Florida's situation, if you bring back Billy Napier, it's going to be tough to pull the best out of the transfer portal with the questions that will still surround Billy Napier if you keep him. And money being held back because of the direction not being that clear. An astute alligator, I suggest you guys give him a follow on Twitter. Brings up some really good conversation points. Great post on Twitter this morning. Quote, reasonable people can debate Napier's fate, but if the UAA boosters don't hit the gas on NIL immediately, then it's not going to matter. If you want to keep this roster intact and add championship caliber pieces around Lagway, that is requirement number one. And we are 100% capable of it. I replied, if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably already seen this, but I did reply to that. So this is another example. You guys heard me say it before. Another example of the UAA and the boosters needing to be on the same page and moving in one direction. For that to happen, we might be at the crossroads right now where the admin needs to make their decision either way and not let it linger. So my biggest worry in that happening is going back to my reply to the question. I don't think there's a lot of belief in Napier earning a fourth year. And I do worry that, it's too far gone to bring everyone in given the results. Having to hit the portal without full funding while having to overpay because of the circumstances, that's not a great combo. If you keep Billy Napier, that scenario could very well be the most prevalent one because recruiting, the high school recruiting, not good enough. And it's not going to be good enough. So then everybody says, well, let's just go hit the portal. Okay, even if you decide, or the administration decides right now, on this Sunday, November 3rd, all right, Billy Napier is coming back next year. The hot seat talk is still going to be there. This is really the make or break year is still going to be there. And then having to attack the portal and having to go overspend because of that situation is going to be there as well. So many avenues to this, so many alleyways to this. That it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But going back to the earning a fourth year, no. Great. I give a lot of credit for the Florida's not in that game against Georgia, against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, if they're not playing better and if they're not bought in. Certainly, they are. That's why they're in those games. As I said, eventually that's got to just equal wins, not moral victories, not just keeping it close. But now because of the injuries, I see the Will Muschamp scenario brought up. An injury-riddled 2013, only to come back in 2014. Team didn't really improve all that much. Got fired anyway. Now, he was a first-timer head coach. So maybe the leash is a little bit longer. Learning on the job. Had a really, really good 2012 season to point to as far as potential goes. You could point to that, but it didn't last. So how much should you really rate injuries when making a decision on Billy Napier? It didn't work out for Will Muschamp. It was, okay, the team was really beat up in 2013. Let's give him a chance to fix it in 2014. Just because you had an injury-riddled season does not mean you're going to improve as much the next season. And I've already talked about the roster. We already know the schedule is going to be tough again next year. So how much does that weigh into the decision-making as far as injuries go? And letting that play out as far as the decision for keeping a head coach or not. As I said, there's a lot to this. And for Florida, an example that kind of hits close to home is Will Muschamp. Giving him another year because of injuries didn't work out. Oh, all right. Get back to it so I can keep this episode about an hour. Spend the next few minutes back to some comments. Everybody thinks one more time. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Yeah, you probably hear it. A little aggravated. So close. So close for getting this one. It just the opportunities that were there, it's a dagger. The best opportunity to beat Georgia in the last few years. And ends like this. Liquid Flames, there were some of the same old problems, like too many players on the field and the messed up snap for the field goal. That's the thing. Talking about the chances in this game, you can't have those snafus. You can't have that. You've got to play as perfect of the game as possible. And even more so when you're faced with the circumstances you were in. Ariola Grande. Funny name, by the way. Can't knock the guy for the situation he was thrust into, but I don't know if we can even beat FSU with Warner. Can't get first downs. Yeah, that's crossed my mind. And that's, Mike that was sitting beside me there in the stadium pretty much said the same thing. It was like, when Lagway goes down, it's like, okay, now, this was a little while after that. I think we were talking at halftime or something. I was like, now you can't even really point to that game as a for sure win as it once looked like. I mean, Florida State got pounded again by North Carolina on Saturday. Now that game's even more into question at the end of the year. Now, I think it's still, from what we've seen against Florida State, a game I think Florida should still win, especially if the defense continues on their track. Who knows where Florida's mindset is? Who knows if any determinations on Billy Napier is out there by that point? I'm just speaking about it as we sit here on November 3rd. I'm still probably would pick Florida to win, but yes, it's fair to say it's even more in question now. MB going to the big part. You guys are in a tough spot. I'm assuming you might be a fan of another team out there. You guys are in a tough spot, MB says. Do you keep the coach because the team fought hard yesterday, or is his motivation to save his job, and that is not beneficial long-term for the school? I mean, I think coaching aspect-wise, maybe DJ Lagway is that special and can get you where you want to go. But at the same time, do you see we're 3 years in now. This season isn't going to go anywhere where we wanted it to. I mean, I think a lot of us could answer the question before this point. If you look at it the way I want to look at it, and maybe not, and this maybe not be fair in the situation Florida finds themselves in, but for the University of Florida as a program, do you find yourself, Billy Napier, capable of winning a championship? I don't see that. So for long term, I don't see it. But maybe Maybe long-term can be, now look, I'm not a stability for the sake of stability. I don't think you kind of going back to my just being patient for the sake of being patient. A lot of time we know the results by what a head coach is going to do by year 3. This year's not going to be good. It's not going to finish well. Maybe. I guess the other side of that could be, it's more beneficial long-term to keep him for another year and then hand it over. Get another year out of Lagway and see what happens next year with that. But as far as the pure coaching side of that, I don't see that being enough. E.O. Bass said, wasn't going to drink yesterday, but then Lags went down. I drank plenty for both of us in the pregame. Liquid Flames comes back to the aspect, I don't understand all the people who were mad about Napier calling the run play that DJ was hurt on. There was a lot of that last night. Why are they running? I don't get it. I don't get it either, Liquid. It made no sense to me. That's part of his game. That's what makes him special. DJ says, usually I would be upset, but due to losing because of injuries, take the sting away. Man, it doesn't take the sting away from me. I haven't seen a Gator team fight this hard since Elam played safety. Culture is returning. Look, the team played hard for Ron Zook all the way to the very end, too. I mean, you still knew it was time to move on. Let's go. MB, so maybe he's a Georgia fan, going back to his comment. I was wrong about Beck. I was a guy that thought he would be elite this year, but Brock Bowers, I guess, is as good as I thought, maybe even better. That's a good way to look at it. You can certainly tell. Beck misses him. That offense misses Brock Bowers. And I had a Georgia fan bark at me last week saying, oh, you can't use what happened against Alabama and Texas. They're much better than you. You can't use examples of what happened in those games against, what's going to happen this game. Well, it turns out we could. Carson Beck is not playing. I mean, it's funny. It's like a catch-22. I mean, look, he still threw for 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Look, those 3 interceptions kept Florida in the game, gave Florida a chance to win the game. But also when rubber meets the road in the late in the game situation, Carson Beck turned it on, was able to march Georgia down the field. So unfortunately, I think for Georgia, that's the situation you're going to find yourself in, is Carson Beck going to give the other team so many chances to where there's another loss or 2 on the schedule. I think that's probably the way I would look at it. He certainly gave Florida a chance. And going into the game, that's what we were wondering. Like, he struggled at intermediate to start the game, to start with in that intermediate range. So what we said, Florida had to stop. You couldn't let him beat you deep. Florida really didn't let him beat him deep. So make him make the plays in the intermediate parts of the field, and he couldn't early on. Gave Florida a chance to win the game. Liquid Flames certainly got to give out. Trace Mack was on point all game. And one more time, I'm going to go back to another, I know we will poo-poo on Billy Napier a lot, and this game is, in a lot of ways, is another example of that. But aggressive right before halftime. And it paid off this time. Got that field goal right before halftime. So, this one, at least as far as, overall big picture, it just, Billy Napier losing to another rival. I'm not sure many coaches are winning in the same scenario, given yesterday what happened. As I said, Florida had their chances. There was the midfield with Lagway still quarterback after the Gates interception. You're starting that drive at midfield and didn't put a touchdown up on the board. So that was another chance to maybe win this game. But at the same time, big picture-wise, I mean, is any head coach winning that game yesterday, given the circumstances? Probably not. But at the same time, it's just another notch in the what can Billy Napier do to save his job? And this was a loss again to a rival. So I think when you zoom in on the game, could Billy Napier have done some things different to win? I'm not so sure. Big picture wise, yeah, it's another loss to a rival, and it just keeps, the tab just keeps getting added to. Kind of going to Mr. Aussie Gator and his point right here. It all comes down to wins and losses. Now, how hard you play. Yeah. I think two things can be true at the same time. I think this team is better. They are improving. They're not giving up. Time to win some games. Oh, all right. I'm going to go to the end here and see if that's Bill Sykes. This is what the floor looks like. Getting nothing more than base performance from the program. And going back to a previous, Napier beats most bad teams and loses to most good ones. He has Florida performing flat on their floor, which is completely mid-SEC program. Hard to do worse than this at Florida. Wolf Gator, going back to the Muschamp thing, I'm getting Muschamp vibes that we are getting close and just need to move some deck chairs around and we can get to the top. When you see if you know, and I don't see it. This is big business. Next month's going to be interesting. It is, seeing how all this plays out. Coach Cooks. I'm a long-time listener, but if DJ Lagway does not go down, I understand we don't do moral victories, but that's clearly a win for Billy Napier. I don't think it's clear, but as I said, I do lean that way as well. I would pick, if DJ Lagway played, if you give me the scenario, I would pick Florida to win, given how the game was playing out. Clearly a win for Billy Napier, and Cass, I think we give him a shot with his returners in 2025. What about the doomsday scenario, though? I don't know. We'll see what the roster looks like. But what if the roster decides just to you decide to keep Billy Napier, but a lot of the roster goes? And I know people will point to, well, they're playing hard for him. Why would they leave? And we keep seeing it year after year. Players you don't expect in this day of this world of college football, leaving their teams and going to play somewhere else. So I don't think it's a pure given that a lot of the better players on this roster are going to stick around. I hope they do. If Billy Napier's retained, he's going to need that. Wolf Gator, I simply want to be relevant again and play for something that matters. Yeah. Been a while. All right. Good stuff, guys. A lot of comments here. I would be here all day. So, something I will not agree with. Jeremy Carpenter here. Florida has always fired its coaches too fast. Based on what? What coach should Florida have really hung on to? You're going to tell me Florida should have hung on to Will Muschamp? Nope. Should have hung on to Jim McElwain? No. To Dan Mullen? No. I don't understand that thought. What have those coaches done since they have left Florida to sit there and prove Florida fires coaches too fast? I will say it one more time. It is not a firing problem. It is a hiring problem. And always too fast. Will Muschamp, 4 years, plenty of time. Jim McElwain, what he was doing and his antics off the field, plenty of time to know where it was headed. Dan Mullen, who didn't want to be here, didn't want to recruit. Ended 2020 on such a bad note. 2021 was a disaster of a season. It was trending nowhere. I don't understand the thought of Florida fires coaches too soon. Makes no sense to me. And Bill brings up a good point. The current starting Florida offensive line features 4 players in their 4th year and 1 in his 5th. Good luck replicating that. Yeah, I have no idea. If we're talking about hope for next year, what Florida's offensive line looks like. Barber would be gone. Slaughter could be gone. Crenshaw Dixon would be gone. Damian George would be gone. You're replacing a lot of guys up there. would have to attack the transfer portal there. All right. Good stuff, guys. If Blind Squirrel Sports is talking about stop what? Speaking facts. What's the fact that I saw you defending Florida firing coaches? Really? What's the fact there? My fact is those guys have gone on to do absolutely nothing when they were fired from Florida. I don't get that. If that's what you're talking about. If not, then okay, overlook that. But I kind of saw you defending the rotation of coaches. All right. Good stuff, guys. We'll be back. This week's going to be a little weird. I'm still trying to figure out my schedule. I have to, a lot of you guys know I work for Channel 4, WJXT here in Jacksonville, News for Jacks. A lot of election coverage, of course. We do not talk politics. All right, Blind. Sorry about that. Stay away from that. I don't even want it in chat. But I do have to work that side of my job this week there for election coverage. So Monday nights, when I usually go live with Will, if we do it Monday night, it's going to be really late. So it might be a little bit of Gators Breakdown after dark. It'll be a little bit of a late episode maybe. Or maybe a Tuesday if I might move Will to Tuesday or something like that. Still trying to figure out this week. It's a weird week for me with the job. So we'll get back to it. Just stay tuned on social media. I'll make a post on YouTube or something like that too, giving you guys a heads up. Blind Squirrel Sports. Sorry about that. I wasn't sure where that conversation was going. Don't be a stranger. Hop in if you want. Yeah. Stay tuned this week. I'll put it out somewhere about what it's going to, what this week will look like. Certainly a Texas preview in the middle of the week with that stuff. So, all right. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.